Welcome back to another episode of The Ordinary. Today we're diving into something we all love, food. Specifically, why knowing how to cook is a life skill everyone should definitely have, our most memorable meals, and the ultimate question, what would you pick as your last meal on death row?
Yep, we're talking about the joy of cooking, the struggle of learning how to cook, and why some people survive purely on takeout. Plus, we'll even debate some of the most iconic death row meals in history.
So whether you're a pro chef or someone who burns toast, this episode is for you. So let's get into it.
All right, so before we delve into everything, I think we should give a disclaimer. I think you and I are honestly two pretty big foodies. One would even call us a big back. I definitely would call you that. But
Thank you.
yeah. Let's kind of start off with like the basics. Not what is cooking, but why is cooking, a very important life skill, not just something, people should just pick up as a hobby.
Well, it's a kind of common sense. We all got to eat.
Exactly.
We wake up, you got to eat. You go to work, you got to eat lunch. After work, you got to eat. So food is something that everyone should know. So like if you're a guy, don't think that you're going to find a wife that's going to cook for you. No, you still got to eat without the wife. What if like the wife loses her hands in a car accident? What are you going to do then, huh? You still got to eat. And you got to
feed her.
feed her, right? So you got to know how to cook. And for me and you, for me, cooking is kind of like a hobby for me. So luckily I've learned.
Same for me, yeah.
Right? And watching cooking shows with mom is something that I do right now. Right now we're watching MasterChef India Celebrity Edition, which is kind of entertaining, but it's fun to watch.
It is fun.
So I think no matter who you are, everyone's got to eat. So you got to know how to cook.
Exactly. And it also prevents you from, relying on things like takeout. I feel like a lot of people that I know my age, it's not that they don't know how to cook. Sometimes they don't want to cook. And because of that, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, whatever. And obviously that adds up. And by the end of the year, I'm sure if they did some sort of tally of all the money they spent, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Sometimes what I hate about cooking is figuring out what to cook. I hate what am I gonna make today? Or when someone asks me what do you want to eat, sometimes I'm like, I have no clue, but I want to eat something, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's easy to just get takeout, order food and stuff like that because no one wants to always think about what to make and stuff. So I understand why some people rely on takeout.
Also, especially if you're new to cooking or maybe you don't have the confidence yet, your food can turn out not the best. And I'm sure we can both share stories of, food fails that we have. Do you want to share anything that, was not it?
Yeah, I think you remember during COVID, I was kind of obsessed with making bread and baking stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the first bread I kind of tried making was focaccia bread. Right? And focaccia is very easy. You combine your high hydration dough with yeast and stuff like that, and you let it sit for a bit and drizzle some olive oil, make some dimples, and put it in the oven, and you got focaccia bread, right? So I think the first time I made it, it was really good.
It was really good. Yeah, I'll attest to that. It was really good.
Right? But then the second time, I don't know what happened. I think I was kind of in a rush or something like that. I was trying to make focaccia, and instead of all-purpose flour, I think I took rice flour, and I realized that a little bit too late. So I made my dough and everything, I cooked it, and I'm embarrassed. I don't even know how I missed that because you can smell rice flour very easily. Yeah. And then basically my focaccia bread turned into a focaccia cracker where it was very hard, and if you take a bite into it, it kind of just broke and crumbled. So I think everyone makes mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes in the kitchen. What about you?
I don't want to say I don't make many mistakes, but I do remember this one time because you never let me forget about it. But this one time you wanted me to make enchilada sauce.
Okay, yeah.
And for some reason I realized that I eat enchiladas a lot of times in my life, but this was also 2 years ago?
Yeah, probably 2022 or something like that.
Oh, maybe 3 years ago now. Yeah, Jalp called me. He's like, can you prepare enchilada sauce? When I get home, we'll, make the rolls and put them in the oven or whatnot. And I blanked. I didn't know how to make it. Yeah. And I remember FaceTiming Jalp, and I think you were busy with something, or you're driving home or something.
Maybe I was at the gym, probably.
Maybe something like that. No, I think you're in Brampton. You're out of the city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I remember getting yelled at on the phone because they
Yeah,
were
because okay, I'm sorry, but like when I'm hungry, I'm like
hangry.
hangry,
Yeah,
right? And like if I'm coming home and I'm gonna prep all the rest of the stuff, like can you at least make the enchilada sauce, which is like not a hard task.
I know. I just in the moment I forgot, or it dawned upon me that I'd never made, and then I was like, "I can't do this." But
Yeah,
it's fine.
and whatever. Everyone learns.
We had enchiladas that day. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
after I made the sauce.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to like, you want to start getting into cooking, but like, where do you start? Obviously, I think start off with baby steps in the sense that start off with meals that are super easy to make.
Mhm.
Do you have any, suggestions for beginners that want to get into cooking but don't want to start off too grand?
Okay. So first thing I would understand about cooking is that you can break it down into like sources of food, right? So you have a carb. So when you think of carbs, you can break it down into pasta, rice, noodles, things like that, right? So most people when they're hungry, what they're actually looking for is something that is dense in carb,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whenever you're making something, I would start off by learning carb heavy dishes.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is learning how to make pasta,
Mhm.
learning how to make stir fry noodles, learning how to make like even like I don't know, Chinese rice or things like
Fried
that,
rice.
fried rice and stuff like that, right? So if you first start off with carb-based dishes, which are the reason why they're so easy, because you first prepare your carb, which most of the time it's you turn on a pot of water, you put in your carb source. Sorry, I meant you turn on what am I trying to say? You turn on the tap and you fill your pot with the water and then
Put it to boil.
and you put your water to boil.
Unless you want to turn on your pot.
No, please don't smoke pot.
Oh, you.
Okay,
Anyways,
okay. Damn it, I lost.
prep your carbs.
Yeah. So you're getting your water to boil, and while that's happening, you can prepare something to eat with your carb, right? It could be a sauce. So if you're making pasta, you can make a simple marinara sauce or something like that. And then once you get a little bit more confident, try experimenting with pesto and like Alfredo sauce and stuff like that. But most of the times, learning a carb-based dish is so easy because you leave one thing on the side, prepare the other thing on the side, which it could be vegetables or whatever you want to put in there, and just literally combine it all together,
Yeah.
right? What about you? Like that? I think that's a good point.
I would agree. Like things like pasta or even like things relating to like with rice, they're super simple to make in the sense that, like you said, you just have to put the carb source to boil or whatever, prep that, and then on the side, maybe if you want veggies in your pasta, you prepare those and then your sauce, right?
Yeah.
And then you can do so many different types of sauces. So you're not just doing the same thing repeatedly
Yeah.
over a duration of like a month or whatever. You have versatility. And on top of that, I love rice because obviously you can have rice the first day with whatever you prepared it for, but the day after you could, fry it, make something salty or savory, but you could also even make like a porridge or something sweet with it. Like I feel like
Yeah.
you and I are both like huge rice eaters. We grew up loving rice, so I feel like
Yeah, we're Asian.
yeah. So knowing what to do with rice, I feel like is also great.
Yeah, and like if you're like me who also wants a little bit of protein heavy meal, you can always pair your carb with protein.
Yeah.
So you can choose your protein source. So when you start thinking of food in like different sources, you can come up with so many combinations. Like, okay, in my plate, I need a carb source, a protein source, and then I need some sort of fat, right? It could be through drizzling olive oil, or it could be simple as like cutting up an avocado and like having it on the side of your carb and protein source, right?
Yeah.
So if you combine those three things, you can have a combination of whatever, right? So you can make a list of, okay, I like these carbs. So have a noodle, rice, and what's another carb source? Quinoa.
Quinoa, yeah.
Quinoa, right? And then choose your favorite 3 protein sources. It could be black beans. We're vegetarian, so black beans, tofu, and then lentils. And then choose your fat sources. It could be a sauce that's heavy in fat. It could be a mayo drizzle. It could be avocado. It could be, I don't know, even like, what's another good fat source?
Paneer? No, I don't know.
Paneer is a protein. More of a protein source. But you get the point. Like, it can be a cheese or something like that.
Sometimes.
Like, create that and then just do a combination of those. Like, okay, today I'm going to choose this carb source, this protein source, this fat source, make something out of that, right? So you have a pretty good rotation going on.
Yeah. Also, another thing that I personally like stick by is just because you're trying to make an easy meal doesn't mean you have to skimp out on seasonings. Make sure you properly season your food. On top of that, taste as you go. You don't want to like kind of surprise yourself with like the end product. I know not everyone likes to do that, but I like to taste as I go to make sure that like, the end product is something that I actually like. Because I don't want to like make something and then be like, oh crap, it's missing salt or something.
Yeah. And then once you get more confident, you can learn about like, okay, if I make this mistake, how can I improve it, right?
Yeah.
If you make something salty, how can you make it less salty?
Mm-hmm.
The trick to that is adding something with sugar that will neutralize that salty flavor or some things like that, right?
Yeah.
Or if you make something that's very acidic, learning what base source you can use to kind of neutralize your meal. Those skills you eventually will pick up after watching a bunch of YouTube, which I learned my cooking
or like food
shows and stuff like that. And we are no experts. I think cooking is a skill that you're going to learn throughout your life, and it's only going to get better and better and better as more you kind of experiment and learn, right? So buddy, like, we didn't obviously grow up knowing how to cook. We kind of built that skill from our mom, from watching TV shows and stuff like that. So can you remember the first meal you actually made?
I'm trying to think. I'm not 100% sure if this is actually true, but I'm pretty sure like KD mac and cheese was something that I grew up eating a lot of, and like I think when you and I were home alone, we would eat it a lot, and then eventually I started making it, and then like now I have this like staple recipe that I feed to my friends. I feed you guys every now and then. Like I love my KD recipe. I also liked breakfast foods growing up, so pancakes was something that which is like super easy. I didn't make it from scratch. Obviously, I'm making it from like the
batter,
like the Aunt Jemima. Is that?
It's like pearl mill,
something like that. But I made it out of the boxed flour or whatever. But yeah, pancakes or something, or just like straight up like grilled cheeses, but I would just add like jalapenos to it or something, or like make dipping sauces with it.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of starts with like KD and then the mac and cheeses and like grilled cheeses. For me, actually, the first meal I made, I think I'm such a good kid. So the first meal I made was for Mother's Day. I made cha. So my mom loves drinking cha in the morning, so I made her cha. And with that cha, I made her like, the Malaysian paratha packets?
Yeah.
I cooked that. And then, I don't know why, I thought it would be fancy, so I cut up tomatoes and made a ring around the paratha with the tomatoes, right? So, and I think I undercooked the paratha as well, so they're kind of raw. But I think that was my first meal I can remember. And I think I was probably in grade 3, 4, something like that.
I also remember, like, I would go to, like, my childhood best friend's house, and, like, we would just, like, cook random weird things. Half of the time, it was always something sweet. Like, we tried to make, like, homemade Rice Krispies or stuff, or, like, I don't even know. Everything chocolate related. I remember this one time we tried to microwave chocolate, and we burnt it to the point that there was, like, a fire in her microwave.
Nice.
Sorry, Asha's mom. She was not very happy that day with us. Also, I remember, I think when I actually started cooking properly was... Because I remember in grade school, at least when you and I were both in elementary, which wasn't for too long because you're 4 years older than me, but like mom would make our food, right? And usually it's like the same thing for all three of us, me, Nayan, and you. But then when I got into high school, like I got more picky with what I liked and what I didn't like. So whatever mom would make you and our other brother, I didn't like it. So then I started making my own thing.
I don't think she was picky. She just wanted to be different.
No, I just don't. Yeah. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so then I started really getting into, I think quinoa was something that I discovered as I was entering high school. So I would make these like quinoa chickpea like salads and stuff like that with like cranberries. It was fire. Don't make that face. It was really...
I don't like quinoa.
Okay. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I started off.
Yeah, and I think as I mentioned, like we're still learning and like growing. But now I would say like we don't make mac and cheese from KD. We're kind of up in life.
We'll make it from scratch.
We'll make it from scratch, or make it from Annie's, which is one tier above KD. So look at that progress.
Shout out Didi. We love Annie's. I also think like when you start cooking, it kind of ties really good memories to like. I'm sure you can also agree, right? Like food, like the power of food itself. It holds more than just like what you eat, but it's also like the memories attached to it. Do you want to share any good memories you have?
Yes, this is tied to my favorite show and the favorite winter of my life, I would say, right? So this winter, number one, it was a cold winter.
What year was this?
I don't know, like 2018 maybe. I think
you were in
I think maybe I was in first year.
first year.
Yeah, first year of university or something like that. It was a cold winter. Our parents were in India, so number one, we were home alone, and I was binge watching Game of Thrones. Right? And in Game of Thrones, just imagine the scene, right? They're out in the cold, winter is coming, and they're eating stew in the cold Winterfell,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, yo, I want to make something like that. So I decided to experiment with stews and soups and stuff like that. So I made a bunch of stews that winter, and I think it was so good that even to this day, every single winter, Buddy tells me, can we make stew? And we never end up making it for some reason.
Yeah, all jokes aside, I do that. Like, it was a very, very fire stew.
But that's probably one of my favorite memories related to food. What about you?
Okay, this is a silly memory, but growing up, same childhood best friend whose microwave we almost blew up. Her mom would make Mexican pizzas growing up a lot. And what do you call it? I think it was her 10th birthday party. We just love her mom's Mexican pizza so much, and she was turning 10, so I don't know why. I was like, let me make a tribute to you turning 10. So I took it upon me, like I challenged myself. No one forced me to do this, to eat 10 Mexican pizzas. They were like medium sized. They weren't huge. Okay. Probably like Taco Bell sized ones. And so yeah, I did that, and like I had people chanting me on and stuff, and then that night
chanting you on, buddy.
Not like that. Cheering me on, sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, I just remember we wake up the next morning, and her mom comes into like our room, and with like a deadpan look on her face, she's like, guys, last night I had to open the windows. Never do that again.
Okay.
But yeah, that was one of my favorite memories had with food. Yeah. What about like comfort foods, you know, like let's say you get back from, I don't know, like a trip or something where you've been eating like, you know, all sorts of like random foods or whatever. You get home, what's the first thing you kind of are craving, or like maybe you're away and you just, you know, something.
Yeah. Or like, you know those meme where like, oh, our Indian parents went on vacation and then we end up going to an Indian restaurant.
Yeah.
I kind of did that in Guatemala. Yeah. So when we went on our Guatemala trip, obviously Guatemala is a Latin country, right? So there's always like Mexican food. So I was like so happy because I'm like, oh, I love Mexican food.
Yeah.
But I got so tired of it by the end of the trip, where the last day before we were leaving, we went to an Indian restaurant, all of us, because all of us were kind of tired of eating like Mexican food and everything. And I got dal khichdi there.
Really?
Right? Yeah, because I just wanted something light. Also, I think like okay, this might be a little bit too much information, but like I cannot like poop when I go to new places. It takes me like 2 days to adjust. I think I get like performance anxiety or something. Okay. So like I can't poop in new not restaurants, new washrooms, right? So it takes me a while. So I think that trip we were like moving quite often, so like I didn't really have good bowel movements. So like
everything was moving but your bowels.
Exactly. Yeah, we climbed a whole volcano, but I could not make any movement. But yeah, at the end of the trip, I just wanted to eat something light. But that dal khichdi, I don't know what was in it. It was really good. I still crave it, and like I think that's probably one of my comfort foods after a long trip is when I come home, when mom makes khichdi.
Yeah.
It's so good. And like, if you don't know what khichdi is, think of it like a soupy rice dish.
You could do
with lentils and stuff.
Yeah, you could do like chopped veggies in it and stuff. It's really good.
Yeah.
You often have it with yogurt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it with anything. I just like it with plain, and then with a little bit of ghee. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
What's your go-to comfort food?
I have two. One that I associate with mom, who is like a comfort person, so this makes sense. Whenever we'd have like leftover roti in the house, roti. I'm sure you guys.
Why you have to say it?
I don't know. Okay. Anytime we had like leftover roti or pakri in the house, my mom would tear it up with her hands, and then I don't know what she does, but you're adding like you make it basically sour, so you add yogurt into it.
You're kind of making a soup out of it.
Like a soup out of it, yeah. But it's called kati pakri. People call it like roti no shak or something. But that is like my go-to comfort food. I love it. I love anything sour or like, you know, like kind of like that. Also, I really like just like a tomato soup and a grilled cheese. If I'm at uni and like I don't have it in me to cook, but I want something comforting. Like let's say I just wrote an exam or something. Like I love making a grilled cheese because that's obviously super easy, and then tomato soup, nothing fancy. I sometimes use like the canned tomato soup, just add seasoning to that. But yeah, that'd be mine.
Yeah, like, and like one thing you'll notice about me and Buddy is that even though we like cooking and everything, we're not one of those snobby peoples that'll like look down upon people for using a box of KD
Oh
or
yeah,
canned tomatoes. I think like, bro, let people be. Food is good. I don't care if it's crappy food. Like some people like look at Taco Bell and be like, how can you eat that? I'm like, shut up, it's good.
watch me.
Yeah, watch me eat it. Like, you know what I mean? So like just food is great. Like stop hating on food. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Ooh, what about weird food combos? I know this is like, I feel like you have some weird ones. Like share.
Yeah, like I feel like I am always eating something that's weird.
Unorthodox.
Yeah, and like I'll explain why, and maybe you kind of picked it up already. But one random weird thing I remember when I was young that I used to like was literally just warm rice and then you put ketchup in it. I don't know why it kind of tasted like Chinese rice to me. And I'm sorry if you're Chinese. I did not mean to
Salty.
insult your rice, but like rice and ketchup, I like. And I just like experimenting with food. So like fusion dishes and stuff like that, I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So you'll always try and see, like whenever someone asks me for a recipe or something that I make, I'm like, to be honest, today I made it with this because I had that in the fridge and like I was just like, I like be thinking out of the box when I'm making food.
And sometimes that's when you make like
Yeah.
fire recipes.
Yeah, and like, the reality is in our household, number one chef is our mom, number two is me.
Okay.
Just come on,
Oh no, I'm not. I'm never doing that.
you don't have to admit it, but like it's facts at the end of the day, right? But with that responsibility comes with me creating new dishes, right? So sometimes it does hit, but sometimes I do miss, right? Because I'm always experimenting. But what are some weird things that you like to eat?
I feel like I really like pairing pickled stuff. So not just pickles, but anything pickled. So like pickled beets or something with something like a fruit. So something I really like is pairing olives, black olives with just pears or maybe apples. I like eating that together. Like I'll chop them both up in a bowl and I'll just eat it. I also like dipping salty or savory stuff and sweet stuff. So this is not a weird food combo because I know so many people that do this, but like getting like a milkshake, dipping fries in it. But also like Indian food wise, cumin or coconut, dipping it in like rus or dipping it in like shrikhand or something. Like I like pairing things like that.
You like sweet and salty.
Sweet and salty together at the same time. Like the dip has to be sweet and then the stick, whatever I'm dipping it, has to be salty or savory. Yeah.
Oh, also one thing I recently really like doing is like literally taking a block of cheese and then like the potato peeler, peeling a slice of cheese and eating it with the cracker. I don't know. I think it's like my favorite go-to snack at the moment. Obviously like Greek yogurt and like just having it. People like putting granola in the Greek yogurt, but what I really like is granola, dried cranberries, and honey. I think that itself is more than enough for a good Greek yogurt bowl. So if you're listening, try that out. Dried cranberries, so it's like a little soury taste, and then you have a little bit of honey, so it's kind of sweet. So it just goes well together. If you could eat one cuisine for the rest of your life, what would that be?
Okay, this is hard because you already kind of mentioned yours, so I'm gonna try to be different. But you know what? No, I really like Italian food. Like I love pasta. I love eggplant parm. That's something I really, really like. I love lasagna. I just love anything Italian. I love basil. Like that is my top tier leaf.
What's the other leaves that you're into, huh?
Arugula.
Okay.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say Italian is my favorite. What about you, Joel?
I mean, I kind of like the foods that look like me a little.
What?
Well, some people tell me I look Mexican. Some people tell me I look Indian. Well, I am Indian, so my go-to food is Mexican and Indian. I couldn't choose one because they both are foods that have a lot.
I would also add Indian to mine. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I could, you know what? I love eating rotli shak. I love eating different like Indian dishes depending on traditions and like festivals and stuff like that. I love eating like fafda, for example, right? Or drinking cha and stuff like that. So I can eat Indian food, and I love going to India just to eat, but I also love Mexican food.
Okay, I think we should shift now to talk about last meals. And I found this website that kind of talks about like famous people. Actually, no, these are all people on death row, so serial killers and criminals.
Yeah.
Their last meals of death row inmates. I think there's some photographer, what's his name? Henry Hargreaves. He basically like captured the pictures of like their last meals. So, starting off strong, John Wayne Gacy, he was a criminal, as I mentioned before, and for his last meal, he requested 12 fried shrimp, a bucket of original recipe KFC, French fries, and a pound of strawberries. Very American, I feel. He's from Illinois, I think.
Yeah, very like random.
Yeah.
Like
I
strawberries.
get the strawberries, though.
How?
That's fire.
Yeah, but like after you have fried chicken, you want to eat strawberries after?
Yeah, that's weird. Interesting. Okay. Any other comments?
No, I would say like interesting choice, but
Yeah. Okay, this next guy, I totally get it. Timothy McVeigh, he was an American bad person. I don't want to what do you call it, get demonetized? No.
we're not making any money, so we're not getting demonetized.
Anyways, but another bad guy named Timothy McVeigh, from Oklahoma, I think. I don't know. He requested 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream, which I totally get.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. That
Yeah,
makes
that's
sense.
fire. 2 pints? I feel like that's too little. Ask for more.
No.
Okay, next guy was Ricky Ray Rector.
What a nice name.
Rector. And for his last meal, he was mentally incapacitated during his time on death row. But anyway, I don't know why that matters. He requested steak, fried chicken, cherry Kool-Aid, and pecan pie.
I'm not going to say anything.
I'm not going to say anything either.
I'm not trying to get canceled.
Okay. Next, we have Steven Anderson. He was put to death in California, and he requested, 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, a pint of cottage cheese,
Ew.
a hominy corn mixture,
What is that?
peach pie, chocolate chip ice cream, and radishes. Okay, that is really weird.
Okay, this guy, I think he's probably the weirdest combination. Like radish with ice cream.
Yeah, I don't even know what that was.
You're probably like gonna die, and you're gonna die of also like indigestion.
He's dying anyway,
Yeah.
so interesting. Okay, last one I want to share is Ted Bundy. I'm sure we all know who that is. He requested a traditional last meal, a steak, eggs over easy, hash browns, toast with butter and jelly, milk, and juice. So like an IHOP breakfast plus steak.
Yeah.
To each their own, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like what I don't like about their meal choices is they're not really put together.
No.
There's no common theme. It's just so random.
I mean, maybe for them their common theme was like comfort. I don't know.
Makes sense. They are dying.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, imagine you're like about to die and like your stomach is like, churning because of all the weird combos in your stomach.
Yeah, and who eats a pint of cottage cheese?
Yeah, I don't know. Protein. Maybe.
It makes sense.
Maybe. What about you, Jalp? What would your death row meal be? What would you want to eat before you die?
Yeah. Okay, I'm really into eggplant parm right now. So a nice eggplant parm that's crispy. That means you have to let your eggplants dehydrate before you cook them. Fry them nicely with the good batter,
Okay.
right? So when I cut it, I should hear a crunch, and when I put it in my mouth, I should hear a crunch, and then like some soft eggplant. Okay.
Okay.
I'm dying, so I get to be picky.
Okay.
Then a Coke Zero with ice, perfectly chilled, with a lime, not a lemon, a lime,
Okay.
and 4 to 5 mint leaves.
Okay.
Okay? You got that?
Yeah.
Okay. And for dessert, I want to keep it simple. Warm chocolate chip cookies. But these chocolate chip cookies, how are they going to be? You can crack them, but when you take a bite, they're soft.
Okay, so crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside.
Exactly. And a cold glass of whole milk.
Okay, that sounds fire, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
That'll be my meal, and I'll be happy to die.
Okay, my main course would be my mom's biryani, because if you haven't had it, you're missing out. And then I'm opting for no drink because I'm good with like just like a cold glass of water and a glass of water with ice in it. I'm opting. I'm switching the drink out for a singular pickle because I want that before I die, and then I want 2 desserts because I have a sweet tooth. One is maybe like 1 scoop of tiramisu, and then a small scoop of mint chip ice cream, like that Timothy McVeigh guy.
Okay.
That would be mine. I would be very content and okay to die if I had that.
I like the tiramisu.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, now let's really get into, we all love food. We all love eating, obviously, and you can probably tell by listening to us passionately talk about food for the last probably like 20 minutes or something. But what are some cooking hacks or food tips that people listening who want to get into cooking more could use in their life?
Okay, first one would be, I think you mentioned this before. Don't be afraid to experiment. I'd say, you know what? I'm going to be humble and say, I think you're better at this than me. You like to experiment more, and oftentimes your food turns out really good. So that could be like trying new vegetables and also experiment in the sense that like once you like, found a few meals that you like or whatever, see if you can like spice them up with something else. Or do your research in the sense that watch YouTube videos, see like if there's other ways to make foods that you like or similar foods.
Yeah.
So that, you have like a good variety of foods to choose from if you're, trying to debate on what to eat.
Yeah, and also like think of cooking as a art, right? And the only way you're going to get better at your art is when you kind of push the boundaries a little. So that's why I kind of like experimenting is I like trying something that's not done before or trying something that's not common, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you do that, you kind of experiment with flavors that you probably didn't know go well together, right? Like mixing Arabic spices with American food.
Yeah.
Turns pretty fire, right? Like sumac, you put that on like a burger or something, it's going to be fire, right? So like things like that, don't be afraid to experiment. Another tip I would say is when you're making food, gather everything you need before you start cooking. So what I've noticed is like sometimes when you are making a roux, for example, if your butter is here and you don't have your spices yet and you're trying to make that roux and turn your flour at the same time, you're going to burn your roux and it's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
Or if you're trying to season something and if you're looking for seasonings while something is cooking, you might overcook it, undercook it, depending on the situation. So, when you watch a cooking video where they take all their spices out in a bowl or something like that, do that. It actually helps. You're able to be more efficient as well, have everything on hand, and it's less stressful.
Yeah. If you don't want to put like have too many dishes, just like bring them all out, like whatever packets your seasoning is, something, but just have it all laid out in front of you.
Yeah.
And kind of going off of that, once you start using those things and once you like make your way through all the things you've gathered, clean up as you go. Our mom used to drill this into us as kids, and I used to get annoyed. I'd be like, bro, like why can't we cook, eat, and then clean up? But imagine you just eating a lot of food. You're obviously gonna feel very like lethargic after you've eaten.
Yeah.
Or you probably just want to chill, right? And then you have dishes to do. Or you gotta like wipe down the stove or something. Clean as you go, so you don't want to, yeah, clean as you go.
Yeah, because you don't want to clean after, right? Who wants to clean on a full stomach?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Another tip I would say is you have so many resources on hand. Don't be afraid to use them. Meaning, YouTube. You'll be surprised. Even ChatGPT is sometimes a really good brainstorming tool that I use. When I'm running out of ideas of what to make, I just ask ChatGPT, like, hey, I want a good protein source. I am a vegetarian, and things like that. And it will help me come up with some recipes, right? And then I'll use that, add my own twist to it. So use the sources you have at hand. It could be friends or family. It could be AI. It could be YouTube. It could be cooking shows. So don't be afraid to do that. Right. Another thing I want to talk about that I would say recently passionate about is meal prepping. Right. So when I say meal prepping, everyone thinks about, making like bodybuilding meals and things like that. But it's not really like that. For me, the reason why I started meal prepping, and I think I mentioned this earlier in the episode, is that I hate having to think about what am I going to make. Right. And I'm pretty low maintenance when it comes to food. So I will meal prep my lunch and dinners for 4 days, so Monday to Thursdays on my Sunday, and that'll kind of save me that time and effort about thinking of what to make. Not only that, you're able to eat more healthy when you meal prep, because sometimes what I found myself doing is that if you're trying to eat clean, if you're trying to eat high protein volume foods. During the weekday, sometimes it gets tough. If you have a long work day and if you're trying to make a meal after that, it's kind of tough. Or if you come back from the gym and you're hangry, which I do get hangry, and you're trying to cook something, it's going to be tough. But if you have a meal already ready, then you're less likely to cheat, less likely to get takeout, less likely to, like, not stick to your diet. So don't be afraid to meal prep as well. What about you?
I personally, I'm like very not against leftovers, but like I don't enjoy them past like eating them one more time, right? After, like, let's say make something for dinner, I'll eat it the next day once, but after that I can't do it. So I'm not a huge like meal prep advocate, but I think like take whatever meal you care the least about. So for me, this is silly, but I have like early breakfast, so that's like as soon as I wake up, if I have classes throughout the day, and my early breakfast, I always just do like a parfait, so like yogurt, granola, and fruit. And like for me, that's a staple that I don't, like I enjoy eating every single day. So boom, that's one meal out of the way. And then whatever I have for dinner the night before, I'll have for lunch usually. Like I always make, when I'm cooking for myself, I always make enough so that it lasts for 2 portions. And for me, dinner is like that meal that I enjoy because after like a long day of classes or like whatever I have, I enjoy cooking dinner at night. Like that, for me, that's like my way to kind of wind down. So for me, dinner is something that I don't like to, have already pre-prepared. I like to make it and then eat it. But then, then pack in that dinner for lunch the next day. Like that is my kind of approach to eating.
Yeah, and like figure out what kind of person you are. If you're someone like me who is not really too picky about food and wants to stick to a specific schedule, wants to meet their, diet requirements, hit their protein goals, kind of eat clean, maybe meal prepping is for you. And you don't have to do it for 4 days. You can maybe do a meal prep that you cook once every 2 days.
Yeah.
And that can work for you. Whatever the case is, figure out what you like. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to push the boundaries in the kitchen. And don't be afraid to ask for help. There are a lot of people in my life that I always look up to when it comes to food. My mom is my number one source that I reach out to when I'm cooking something new and I need help from her. And number 2 would be YouTube and social media and online. Buddy's looking at me like she thinks I'm going to ask her for recipes, but Buddy makes really good banana bread. I love that. So if you want a good recipe for banana bread, reach out to Buddy.
Okay, thanks for that shout out. Also, just like, this is a silly thing to end off on, but don't sleep on food. Food is really good.
Yeah, please don't sleep on food. Invest in mattresses. They're really good for you.
Yeah. Okay, Jalp. But yeah, I think we can agree knowing how to cook is a very important survival skill.
Yeah, whether it's for independence, saving money, or just making sure your last meal is top tier, everyone should at least learn a few go-to dishes.
Exactly. So to kind of sum up what we learned today, cooking is essential. Comfort meals should be personal, and your death row meals should not be wasted on boring food.
Now we want to hear from you. What's your go-to comfort meal? And what would your last meal be? Let us know on Instagram. You can follow us at theordinary.podcast. Don't be afraid to shoot us a message and let us know what would you like to hear next.
And don't forget to follow The Ordinary on Spotify for more fun episodes like this. See you next time.